Hello, welcome back to Grayson's Reading Galaxy. I'm Grayson, and Pips is over there out of camera sight. Today, we're just going to start by talking about what books we are currently reading for this week. I'm going to break them into three categories. The first category is going to be books that were from last week that I don't have much comments on at all. The second one is going to be books from last week that I do have some new comments on. And then category number 3 is going to be new books for this week that weren't part of last week. So, for this week's books from last week that I don't have any comments on, we have The Wizards of Once by Cressida Cowell. I've only made it a couple more chapters, which is why I just don't have much to say. Then we have Amelia Gray is Almost Okay by Jessica Brody, which looks like that. And I am currently on the chapter titled The Chapter Where Biscotti Makes Even More Friends, which is page 41. And then we have The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, which looks like that. And this one, I'm currently on chapter 12, which is page 115. And then next we have The Memory Thieves by Danielle Clayton, which looks like that. I'm currently on chapter 10 titled Travel Coins, which is page number 119. And then finally, we have Almost There by Farah Rochon, which looks like that. And I'm currently on chapter 12, which is a Tiana chapter, and that is page 113. Now for the books that are from last week, but that I have comments to make on them. Our first one is Pachinko by Min Jin Lee, which looks like that. I am currently on chapter 12, which is page 95. I just made it to the part where Sunja marries the man who is willing to take care of her daughter with her. And so she is on her way to Japan with this man. They're heading to Osaka. And honestly, I'm just hoping that Sunja ends up having a good life with this man and that it's not a horrible life in Japan. So that's what we're hoping for. But I'm not too far in the book yet. So I'm wondering like what struggles they're going to end up going through. And then we have the book We Are Not From Here by Jenny Torres Sanchez. And in this one, we had a death of a character, which honestly I wasn't expecting that to happen. I thought all three characters were going to make it to America, and then we'd maybe see some of the struggles that they had in America. And now I'm wondering if our final two characters are both going to make it to America, or if just one of them is going to. Because one of the characters is really losing the desire to go because of the friend that died. So I'm really hoping that they both make it, but I'm starting to predict that maybe they're not both going to. And then we have The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black, which looks like that. And this one, I'm currently on chapter 21, which is page 189. And in this one, our main characters, or two of our main characters, are kind of in trouble right now. And Gabriel, our vampire, wasn't with them when they got into this trouble. So I'm wondering if Gabriel is going to come and save them, or if either of these two characters are going to end up turning into a vampire and then saving the situation. So that's what I'm wondering. I think Gabriel is going to come. I'm hoping Gabriel is going to come, but I guess we'll see. And then we have A Lots Away by Darcy Little Badger, which looks like that. And I'm currently on chapter 15, which is page 166. And in this one, we kind of found out that our killer might not be human, but we're not entirely sure what the killer is going to be. So I'm thinking that he's a demon of some sort, but I'm not entirely sure how demons are portrayed in Native American mythology. So I'm curious to see what he is actually going to be and what he or why he's killing people in particular. So we're going to find that out too, hopefully soon. And then finally, we have How to Train a Dragon, book number 12, How to Fight a Dragon's Fury. And I'm currently on chapter 9, which is page 161. And in this one, Hiccup has finally made it to the land of tomorrow. He hasn't quite made it to the crowning ceremony yet because Alvin is still being crowned king, but hopefully Hiccup will make it before that happens. Though he still doesn't have his memory, so I'm wondering how he's going to pull this off without having his memory. So those are the books that are all from last week. And so now we'll move into the books that are new to this week that weren't there last week. And then our books that are new for this week, we're going to start with Fierce Winds and Fiery Dragons by Nan Sweet, which looks like that. This one says it's about Ivy and Carrie love their new classroom even if the new teacher is a little strange. When Mrs. Huffady asks for volunteers to care for an egg, Ivy doesn't budge. She's had a few scary dreams about that egg and wants nothing to do with it. But when trouble comes, Ivy defends the egg. In her desire to save the baby that hatches, Ivy is tossed into the middle of an adventure. She discovers more than she's ever wanted to know about fierce winds and fiery dragons. This one I have not started reading yet, so other than that, I have no idea what's going to happen. And then we have He's My Only Vampire Volume 2 by Aya Shoto. And I read the first volume for this one, and the first volume was just okay. Like, it wasn't great. It was kind of on the slow side, so I'm hoping that this one is a little bit faster. But this one says, when Dealer Swallow suddenly appears, Kana learns in the ensuing scuffle what it means to be a pureblood vampire's thrall. With the lycanthrope Jin now fighting beside Kana and Aki as an ally, the three begin their search for the other stigmas in a dangerous quest. I will say I have started this one. That's about where I'm currently at. And I am enjoying this one more than the first volume, but it's still not nearly as action packed as I want it to be. So hopefully, as the volume continues going, it'll be a little bit more action packed. And our next one is going to be Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice by Elle Cosimano. And this is the fourth book in the Finley Donovan series. And I'm about to read the description. So if you have not read the series yet and don't want to be spoiled, please do not listen to this part because the description will have small spoilers for the previous 3 books. So this one says Finley Donovan and her nanny slash partner in crime, Vero, are in sore need of a girls' weekend away. They plan a trip to Atlantic City, but odds are, seeing as it's actually a cover story to negotiate a deal with a dangerous loan shark, save Vero's childhood crush Javi, and hunt down a stolen car, it won't be all fun and games. When Finley's ex-husband Steven and her mother insist on tagging along too, Finlay and Vero suddenly have a few too many meddlesome passengers along for the ride. Within hours of arriving in their seedy casino hotel, it becomes clear their rescue mission is going to be a bust. Javi's kidnapper Marco refuses to negotiate, demanding full payment in exchange for Javi's life. But that's not all. He insists on knowing the whereabouts of his missing nephew, Ike, who mysteriously disappeared. Unable to confess what really happened to Ike, Finlay and Vero are forced to come up with a new plan, sleuth out the location of Javi and the Aston Martin, then steal them both back. But when they sneak into the loan shark's suit to search for clues, they find more than they bargained for. Marco's already dead. They don't have a clue who murdered him, only that they themselves have a very convincing motive. Then 4 members of the police department unexpectedly show up in town, also looking for Ike, and after Finlay's night with the hot cop Nick at the police academy, he's a little too eager to keep her close to his side. If Finlay can juggle a jealous ex-husband, 2 precocious kids, her mother's marital issues, a decomposing loan shark, and find Vero's missing boyfriend, she might get out of Atlantic City in one piece. But will she fold under the pressure and come clean about the things she's done or be forced to double down? So far, I'm about halfway through this book at this point, and I'm loving it just as much as I enjoyed the first three books. It's very fast paced, very fun to listen to. So excited to continue reading this one. And then our final book is In an Absent Dream by Shannon Maguire. This is the fourth book in the Wayward Children series. And this one says, the fourth entry and prequel tells the story of Lundy, a very serious young girl who would rather study and dream than become a respectable housewife and live up to the expectations of the world around her. As well she should. When she finds a doorway to a world founded on logic and reason, riddles and lies, she thinks she's found her paradise. Alas, everything costs at the goblin market, and when her time there is drawing to a close, she makes the kind of bargain that never plays out well. And I am about 2 chapters in this book, though I'm really excited because we met Lundy in the first book in this series. So I'm excited to hear which world she ended up in and what her experience is, because all of the worlds have been really interesting so far. So those are all the books that I'm reading this week, or at least starting this week, and we'll just see how much I get through as the week progresses. Okay, so I am like totally obsessed with cows. I love cows so much. And I found this cute little TikTok shop that sells some cow bookmarks, and they finally arrived in the mail. The shop is called Bull in a Bookshop, and it's a TikTok shop, so I'll just put an image right up here. I just wanted to show the cute bookmarks because I really love them and I'm so excited to be able to use them. So the first one is the classic cow, which looks like that, and it's the same on the back side. Like, so cute. And there's the chocolate milk cow. And the pink cow. And the pickle cow. I am like obsessed with pickles, so I'm so happy. Like, look at the little pickle horns. And then the lavender cow. And again, those little lavender horns. And then finally, the blueberry cow. Blueberries are like my favorite fruit in the whole wide world. And then again, the little blueberry horns. Like, how cute! See, I just wanted to show these cute little bookmarks off because they're so adorable and I can't wait to use them in my books. So while I do read a lot of books, I also read a lot of webcomics. And so one of my most recent webcomics that I've been really enjoying on the app Webtoons is called Rooftops and Roommates by Xanart. And this one is about two characters named Jeb and Todd. Jeb is a gargoyle who is hiding his gargoyle side from Todd, who is a human, while they're roommates at college. And like I said, Todd is the roommate who is human and just doing college things like they normally do. This is like such a sweet, wholesome story between these two characters. They're honestly like the best of friends and have a really healthy relationship with each other to just help each other out and study through all of the hard stuff in their seniors in college. So they're just trying to make it through. And then while Jeb is trying to hide his gargoyle side from his roommate, he's not doing the greatest job of this. And Todd often notices abnormal things about Jeb. But despite seeing these abnormal things, Todd defends Jeb so much from other people who call him weird or even those who come after him thinking he's a different supernatural being. And so, like I said, just this really sweet, wholesome webtoon that I just wasn't expecting and have fallen in love and read as much as I could to this point since it's still an updating one. So I just wanted to mention it because it's just so sweet and so cute, and I think other people should read it. All right, so I ended up finishing Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice by El Casimano. I absolutely loved this book so much. It was extremely fast paced and easy read to get through, just like the other three books. Super funny. I found myself giggling and laughing through majority of the story. And one thing that I wanted to note that I liked about this one just a little bit more than I liked, um, something that I liked about this one a little bit more than I liked about the other three books was that we had a focus on Finley and Vero without the kids, since the kids were often in the hotel with Stephen, who is Finley's ex husband. And it was kind of nice to see their dynamic without having the kids around all the time. And while I really enjoy having the kids in the story because they definitely add a lot of comedic value, it was just nice to see the story with Finley and Vero without the kids. In the end, I rated this 4.5 stars. So it was a very, very good read, very fun to get through. It took me like 2 days to read it, so that was fun. And then I thought I would just like mention a couple of books that I think are pretty similar or that you might enjoy if you like the Finley Donovan series. And so one of these is Grave Reservations by Cherry Priest. And that one is a little bit more on the mystery side, but it has the main character like having visions and able to like stop big disasters from happening because of her visions. And so she ends up saving a cop. Um, and that cop ends up wanting to use her visions to help him solve some crimes. And then we have Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Manansala. And this one again is a little bit more focused on the mystery side, but in this one we're focused in a little small town where our main character is working at her aunt's kitchen, and then in the aunt's kitchen, one of the customers ends up dying, and so she is determined to solve the mystery of who killed this customer before the cops blame it on her aunt. And then finally, the TV show Good Girls. I've never like fully watched the whole series, but like just the vibes of like committing the crimes and getting away with it, and then having that comedic value feels very much like the Finley Donovan series. So yeah. All right. I have also finished He's My Only Vampire Volume 2 by Aya Shoto. And for this one, I did end up liking this volume more than the first volume, which I'm very happy with. So I will be continuing with the series. In this one, I was really excited that we got introduced to the main character's brother, which I didn't realize that she had one, but we did get introduced to him. And then I really enjoyed the dynamic between all three characters, particularly between the vampire and the werewolf in this one. Of course, they don't like each other very much, but it just adds a little bit of the comedic value to this story. Unfortunately, it still was not as exciting as I wanted it to be. I felt like it should be just a little bit more action packed, since they're hunting down the stigmas for our main character to get, or one of our main characters to get all of the power that he needs to save his brother. But like I said, other than that, I'm still planning to continue the series, so I'm looking forward to volume number 3. I did end up rating this a 4-star in the end, um, just because I enjoyed it a lot more than the first book, and I think I rated the first book a 3.5. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on this book. Now that we have finished He's My Only Vampire Volume 2, we're going to go ahead and move to Devil's Line Volume 3 by Royo Hanada. And this one says Onsai grapples with Lee's bombshell that drinking human blood can have regenerative, strengthening powers on devil bodies, and Lee offers to share what he knows if Onsai's comrades hide him away. Meanwhile, 07, the sniper, faces the consequences of her rebellion as 02 works to tie up loose ends from the Ike Bukuro incident and reveals that he has an old connection to Onsai. I'm super excited to read this one. It is a reread for me, and it's one of my favorite manga series, but it has been quite a while since I've read it, so I only remember bits and pieces, so I'm really excited to just see the whole story once again. All right. We also finished the book We Are Not From Here by Jenny Torres Sanchez, which was this one. And this one I did end up enjoying. It was a little bit slow for me, or at least the pacing was a little bit slow. So I rated it 4 stars in the end. This ended up being a really sad story. I mean, I was expecting it to be a sad story, but it was sadder than I was expecting. As I mentioned earlier, there was a death in the story that I wasn't expecting to happen, so that like threw me off. And then as they just continued their journey, it just got sadder and sadder as we saw the realities of what they were going through as they were trying to cross the border. And it's just something that nobody should ever have to go through, especially teenagers who are on the run from gang members that they didn't even want to be a part of. I did like how the story ended, though. It was like a hopeful ending, even though there was still a lot of sadness, and now they're going to have to go through the trauma, um, or at least deal with the trauma that they went through on their journey. I hope that now that they're where they're at, they'll be able to be in contact with their parents more, um, because it was so sad that the parents didn't hear anything from them until they made it to their destination. And I couldn't imagine being a parent and not knowing if your child was okay or not. Pips, do you have anything you want to say? We're looking at this book. Yeah, just some little thoughts. Okay, thank you. So yeah, that is what I have to say about that book. Really sad read, 4 stars, enjoyed it, though it was a little bit on the slow side for me. So perfect. One of my goals for this year is to read more books on my physical shelf. So switching out with We Are Not From Here, we are going to pull a book that is from my own physical shelf, and that is Shark Heart, A Love Story by Emily Habeck, which looks like that. And this one says, for Lewis and Wren, their first year of marriage is also their last. A few weeks after their wedding, Lewis receives a rare diagnosis. He will retain most of his consciousness, memories, and intellect, but his physical body will gradually turn into a great white shark. As Lewis develops the features and impulses of one of the most predatory creatures in the ocean, his complicated artist's heart struggles to make peace with his unfulfilled dreams. At first, Wren internally resists her husband's fate. Is there a way for them to be together after Lewis changes? Then a glimpse of his developing carnivorous nature activates long repressed memories for Wren, whose story alternates between her childhood living on a houseboat in Oklahoma, her time with her college ex-girlfriend, and her unusual friendship with a woman pregnant with twin birds. Woven throughout this bold novel is the story of Wren's mother, Angela, who became pregnant with Wren at 15 in an abusive relationship amid her parents' crumbling marriage. In the present, all of Wren's grief eventually collides, and she is forced to make an impossible decision. So yeah, that is the description of this book. This is one of my most anticipated books of this year, so I'm really excited that I get to pick it up and read it. And I have started it, so I'm currently on a chapter titled June, and it is page number 40. And so far, I'm really enjoying the story. We have our character Lewis, who has found out that he is diagnosed um, with that rare disease, but he hasn't quite told his wife Wren yet, and I think it's because he's struggling to wrap his own mind around the idea that he is turning into a great white shark, and he's just not ready to confront that reality. And he's scared that if he tells Wren, then that reality is going to become even more real. So I'm waiting to see for when Wren is going to find out and how her reaction is going to be, and then how that's going to play out for the rest of the story. So there it is. You got any thoughts, Pips? All right, and then I did end up finishing Amelia Gray is Almost Okay by Jessica Brody, which is right here. This one was such a fun read, very similar to Finlay Donovan. I ended up finishing this in about 2 days, and it was so cute to see Amelia's personal growth journey as she was moving to this new town, and this is her first time like ever settling into a town, and she is just trying to figure out what her thing is as she sees that so many people have a thing that they really like to do. And so she is determined to find out what her thing is, but nothing just seems to click. And she just learns that you don't always have a thing, or you can enjoy more than one thing. It doesn't have to be just a singular activity that you enjoy. And so it was just a really cute, fun story of self discovery and just learning more about herself and um, making friends and enjoying a community setting that she's never had before. So that was such an exciting read. I ended up rating this 4 stars in the end and was actually shocked that this book was over 400 pages because it was such a fun read. And then the book that is trading out with Amelia Gray is Almost Okay is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, book number 2, The Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan. And that is what it looks like. And then this one says, Percy Jackson's 7th grade year has been surprisingly quiet. Not a single monster has set foot in his New York prep school campus. But when an innocent game of dodgeball among Percy and his classmates turns into a death match against an ugly gang of cannibal giants, things get, well, ugly. And the unexpected arrival of his friend Annabeth brings more bad news. The magical borders that protect Camp Half-Blood have been poisoned by a mysterious enemy. And unless a cure is found, the only safe haven for demigods will be destroyed. In this fresh, funny, and wildly popular follow-up to The Lightning Thief, Percy and his friends must journey into the Sea of Monsters to save their camp. But first, Percy will discover a stunning new secret about his family, one that makes him question whether being claimed as Poseidon's son is an honor or simply a cruel joke. So I'm not very far, but I have started the book. I'm currently on chapter 3, which is page 25. And I liked the first book in the series enough to want to continue it, but it wasn't one of my favorites out of books that are like this style. So I'm hoping that I enjoy the second book just a little bit more than the first one. All right, and then that is a wrap for the week. We ended up finishing 4 books. We had Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice, He's My Only Vampire, volume number 2, We Are Not From Here, and Amelia Gray is Almost Okay. So that is where we're going to end it today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.